got these dogs from a parking lot in Indianola, and then later it spiraled into these people getting abuse, neglect charges based on the remaining dogs that were in that home. And we knew when we took those dogs that there was more left behind, that it was going to be bad. And it was within a couple of weeks of when we took them, when the news story hit. And so we reached out to law enforcement and said, hey, there's something going down.
Oh my dog. Dog. Oh my dog.
Oh, my dog, hey.
Oh, my dog, hello.
Welcome to episode 54.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow, look at us go.
Yes. So we have a few things to carry over from our last episode because, we chitter a bit and things
Chitter
carry
chatter,
on.
side quests on
Yes.
cookies and whatnot.
Yeah. So we'll check in on that, and then because you all know that I cannot read, Holly is going to read aloud a crazed story out of Minnesota for us.
Yes, I am.
And then we'll talk a little bit about that.
Is that the first link or the second one?
It is the first one, but the second one I want to learn about, or actually, it's the same story.
Oh, okay.
But two different places.
Just want to make sure I get teed up okay.
Yep.
Anyway, a couple things from last episode that carried over. We have had a couple donations that I want to call out. We were contacted by a United Methodist Church out of Boone, out of freaking literally nowhere. I don't know if they got the twist on the name of our organization.
Yeah. Oh, my dog. Or who needed to help? These people, these harlots.
Yes. But nonetheless, we are very thankful. They do this thing where they all get together once a quarter and they make homemade laundry detergent. And it's got a 20 ml borax and Arm & Hammer soda and the special kind of soap, whatever. It's 3 ingredients, nothing else, no colors, no fillers, no dyes, no nothing. And they wanted to donate 10 detergent jugs to us. I was like, cool. And they delivered it to my door. And I was like, I can come pick it up because I live out in the middle of nowhere. They're like, no, it's no problem. We have people going out all day today just delivering this. I was like, okay, well, here's my address. And half an hour later, this guy shows up in my driveway and drops off 10 things of detergent.
Man, at this point, 300-400 people have my address and go to drop shit off. People are now just The other day, I came home and I did not give anybody my address in the last 2 weeks. I swear to God. And there was just piles of shit, puppy pads and food and, a playpen and all kinds of stuff on my porch, And eventually this has to end. But no, it was lovely. But it's now people just know. And they're like, oh, you have stuff to donate? Go here. And it's my home. We need to get
Goodwill of dog supplies.
God, my poor porch. And you've ever been by my house in the summer. It's my little oasis. I've got plants and all my things, and it's really going to get sullied with all these puppy pads getting just dropped.
You also need a little shed outside the studio that people can just come and.
We need space.
We do need a drop box for donations.
10 people about this. It's got to come to fruition soon.
And I gotta ask, would you rather have 10 jugs of Church Lady laundry soap or 10 Church Lady made quilts? Because that's what I'm imagining. These church ladies all get together and
they're doing two things.
And then they're.
I think the church men are the one that are making the detergent.
Yes.
And then the ladies are quilting.
Which is
I would take 1 quilt and 5 detergents.
You did not take any detergents.
No, because I'm really particular. I only use powdered detergent.
Okay.
Because I have a front load washer and it stinks if I don't use powdered detergent. If I use powdered detergent, it smells fine. My laundry's clean.
Weird.
It's all good. But if I use liquid detergent, it's it gets this buildup in it, and I can smell it. No one else in my family can smell it, but I can smell it. So I only use powdered detergent. In fact, the Target near me only stocks powdered detergent because I buy it. They're like, no one
You're
else,
sure of that?
No one else buys this. I'm like, yes, I'm aware. And the XXL puppy pads, I buy a lot of those as well.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I put it out on the Mutt Mafia, and nobody took me up on it. So that's fine.
Yes.
I will use all of the donated. I did give Natasha 2 today as I dropped off some.
She'll use that.
Puppy gates to her as well. I said, you're probably going to need this, so here you go. Anyway, I think it's great. I'm going to give it a try. literally just finished a huge. I get like the gigantic
With
jugs
the
of detergent. Yeah.
glug glug on the
Yes,
side.
yes.
Yeah.
And I just used the last of that, so
Well,
I'm
let me
excited
know
to give
how
it a
it
try.
goes and how your laundry machine smells
I've
afterwards.
never been super particular about. I mean, I have my chosen detergent, and
Right.
I've used the same detergent for 20 years. I mean, when I get on something and it works, I don't change it.
True. Yeah. I mean, same. But it took me a long time to find something that didn't like. I'm really weird about like the smell of laundry and like
People, I tend to use too much of it.
Yeah.
And then, like, when you're
because
standing next to people,
everything.
that's all you smell.
Yes, like people that use Gain,
Drives my mom nuts.
very smelly Gain people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Too
It's a
much.
thing.
It is.
Anyway,
Yes. So that was a great thing, and a unique donation to not even think about. I would never have thought to ask
I told
for that.
Kara, I said, we get the weirdest donation.
We really do.
But this is a good one.
It was a good one.
I'm here
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah, I like it. Speaking of donations, Natasha today played. So, in fact, one of my friends who fosters for us occasionally for like temp foster situation, she sent a picture and she goes, Nasha was out playing Santa today. And I got to find you the picture because she literally had a lineup outside of her front door, dog toys.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so when I dropped the gates off to Natasha, the whole ass end of her Subaru is full of these
Stuffed
stuffed dog
animal
toys. And it's
toys.
not even all of them. She's like, there's still boxes at home. I was like, oh my God. So I took a bunch back for our Madrid fosters.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be dropping those off on their doorsteps. Weirdly, I'm not even going to tell them I'm doing it. I'm just going to leave it on their doorstep.
That's like this. It's hilarious. Like there's just their entire. So the picture I just showed Holly is a literal lineup of one of each dog toy just along the doorstep, like Passover, but for squeaky toys.
So that was from PetSmart. I don't know
Which
what
is cool.
happened there.
Well, we got signed up for that PetSmart Charities thing, and now they
Oh,
donate.
I know, but I don't know why they got rid of all of the, like, why do they have so many of them?
Yeah, they always have these like larger toys, which like Dolores likes those big ones because she can squish on them, and they have those usually during like holiday time, and then once
there were reindeer in there.
yeah, so they're like Christmas ones, and so then after the holiday, they're like, well, we gotta.
You know what? There's another holiday coming around once a year, every year. So you just carry it over.
Today's Cinco de
Stuffed
Mayo.
toys, it's not like they're gonna go bad.
Oh, that's true. But then the people that buy this kind of crap, they're like, well, I got that reindeer last year, so I got to have the new model.
Speaking of, if you buy your dog a toy and they fall in love with it, immediately go out and buy it again.
Did
and
Stanley
just
not
keep
like
it in
the
the closet.
replacement you just got?
No.
Oh, gosh.
No, Stanley got a rabbit from my mom in 2018. I think I've talked about it before, and it's his rabbit.
Well, it's an
It's
outrage
his
because he
thing.
just carries around. I don't know how it's still alive. My
He
dogs have never
carries
had
it
a toy that
everywhere.
long ever.
And if he doesn't have, it's on my checklist to go to the lake, because if I forget it, it's not going to be a fun weekend. I promise you.
Mm-mm.
No, I'm serious. So,
That's
but
crazy.
I have never, not once, found the same rabbit ever again. And Mom doesn't remember where she bought it. She's looked in her receipts.
And you've done like an
everything.
Amazon like image
Yes,
search
I've
and
done
all
the
of that.
Google Lens. I've done the Amazon
Oh my
picture
God.
thing. Nothing. So, unfortunately, hopefully, it lasts as long as Stanley does.
Well,
I don't wash it very often. I'll tell you that.
because my dogs only like trash. They like these little circle rubber toys. These little faces.
Yep, Stanley loves those too.
My pit bulls.
We got a bunch of them from somebody.
We got them when we got the schnauzers. She'd give them to
Ah.
us, and I was like, "That's a terrible toy. No, these are never gonna last."
No, Stanley loves them.
I've got probably 50 of them in my house
Chews
now.
the shit out of them.
Nobody has destroyed one.
Oh, Stanley
My
ripped
pit
one up
bulls
in a
walk
napkin.
around with it in their lip, just like Tanner with his chew. And they got
Squeaky,
they
squeaky.
got that little squeaky toy, and they even after it's done squeakying, they're
It's like
walking
a teasing thing.
we
for
call
them.
it bubble gums, and they love them. That's the only toy at our house that's like, but those are reproduced
you
in
can
mass,
find
no
them
big deal. But that would be a
million
big deal if
places.
we ran out of bubble gums at our house. They love those things. And every once in a while, I'll be like, the dog will be acting funny, and I'll be like, "Did you swallow a bubble gum?" Because they're way too small for my big dogs to have, but no one's ever swallowed them. They just walk around with them in their gums, like in their
Stanley
chew.
chews them up, but I don't know if he eats them. I don't know. I mean, I have a
My
really
do-
big backyard, so I don't do the poop and scooping thing.
Well, some guy comes and does it for me once a week.
It all disintegrates before I even notice it.
Yes.
Anyway,
Yes. Which, by the way, if you have not picked up your poop since the winter, I know it's been a few weeks of very nice weather, but my goodness. One time I didn't do that. Like, I didn't have, before I had, like, the poop scoop thing, the city garbage bin filled to the top with poop.
holy shit.
Literally.
Literally.
And at that point, Marcus is like, this is
Disgusting.
disgusting. You've got to get your life together. So now we pay, and somebody comes every Tuesday and picks up the poop.
Worth it.
Worth it.
Yeah, that is a whole thing. That's a whole business.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's great.
We have had a couple bat phone. The bat phone has been. I don't even
Dare
want to
you
say it.
say it?
I will not. It's like saying that word in an ER room. You just don't do it. So we're not going to. Anyway, we've had
Only a couple of notable bat
couple
calls.
bat phone calls. Most recently, I got a phone call actually on the way to podcast recording from this lady who has a Great Dane mix, and it is mixed with
A Rottweiler and a Pit Bull, right?
yeah.
What?
So,
That is a bad choice.
I don't. It's okay.
Actually, I probably would really like
I love
this
how
dog.
she started with the Great Dane part of it, and then later we got to the other parts of it.
Yeah,
But anyway, she lives in an apartment, and she
of
got
course
this.
she does.
Yeah, right. That seems logical. And this dog was a coworker's, second cousin, twice removed, kind of bullshit, whatever.
Uh-huh.
And she got it at 20, supposedly at 20 weeks, but the vet said 16, whatever. And it is starting to show behavioral issues at a year old, and her apartment management is saying it's got to go. And I said, well, what kind of behaviors is it showing? And she said he's just really, like he cowers when he sees people that he doesn't know or sees other dogs that he doesn't know. And
But
then
is the problem with the apartment his size? Because, like, that's not a problem
I
behaviorally
don't
to
know.
me.
You never know if you're getting the whole story with these deals anyway. But I
You're not.
said, well, first and foremost, I would get him neutered because, of course, it's not neutered.
Never.
She was waiting until it was a year old to get
Because
it
he's
neutered.
a giant breed and all the things.
Okay,
like,
fine, whatever.
Fine.
But I would start there. One, two. If it was intended to be a what do they
Because
call
she
that?
said
An animal support dog.
emotional support.
No, the service.
Oh,
It's
a
supposed
service.
to be a service dog,
Yeah.
but because of these behavioral issues, he's not gonna pass or whatever.
Won't cut the muster.
And I said, well, you could register him as an emotional support animal. And I said, if you have a letter from a therapist or a primary physician, you can do that online. She goes, well, I have that. And I said, okay.
Well, then.
So just go online and get him registered as an emotional support animal, and then he's protected under the ADA. So it doesn't go towards your animal count.
Yeah.
And you can have him.
Right.
Even if the apartment doesn't allow pets. She goes, well, I already have 2 cats, and he would put me over the line. I'm like, no, that's not how that works either. Like, why am I telling you this? Like, you should already know this if he was supposed to be a service animal and you got him at 16 weeks and
Also,
he's now a year.
If she's over
Don't
the limit.
you already know that?
And this dog is a year old, so she's had him for a year and she's been over the limit for a year.
Right.
Like, what?
I don't know. 8 months at least, anyway.
Right.
So I just was super honest with her, and this is about the point where the tears start coming in, which I always have a hard time with because I'm not emotionally tied to this animal, but I empathize and can understand, but I'm not going to cry with you. I'm going to problem solve with you.
Yeah.
Like, please don't, let's not do that. So...
Shut up and let me help you, ma'am.
I said, well, I'll just be really honest with you. That's going to be a very hard placement for anybody. And she goes, yeah, you're not my first call. I said, I know. I mean, duh. And she had listed off all the rescues in the area that I know of, and including the ARL, and she said, yeah, everybody's telling me the same thing. I said, well, I can help you out with getting you referred to a trainer,
Right.
if you need a vet referral,
Right.
if you need some training tips. She goes, well, I'm physically disabled too. And like no offense and no judgment passed, but what in your right ever loving mind did you think that a Great Dane Pit Bull Rot mix
was going to be your service dog
in an apartment was going to be your service dog for physically disabled person.
What?
Make it make sense.
Jeepers. I
And
actually really
also-
badly want to see this dog. Could we send her a text?
She said that the prior owner, she found out later, had, I'm not even making this shit up, had broken her hand because she went to punch this dog in the head and missed and hit the toilet. And I said, that was when I asked her,
When it was a tiny puppy?
that's when I asked her, how old was the dog when you got it? And she said she was told 20 weeks, but later found out that it was like more like 16 weeks. I said, okay, well, if a dog was subjected to that kind of environment, you know, for the first 16 weeks of its life, you know, I would think that it would kind of grow out of that being in a safe environment for
After
the last,
Because 16 weeks is pretty young.
very
dogs
young.
are resilient.
very
Yeah.
young. Like,
And she got the toilet anyway.
so
you know?
so I said, so like what kind of, if this was intended to be a service animal, surely it's gone through some training at this point. Like
Yeah.
you're not going to wait to train a dog
Jesus.
to be a, you know.
No, if it's a service dog, truly, training starts at 8 weeks. I mean,
Yeah.
like you.
But no,
Oh my
there's no
God.
training that was happening there.
Hey, speaking of service dogs, we need to check in with our dog that went to go be a service dog.
Yeah.
I want to find out. We'll get an update on that before we talk next.
So I gave her all of her options. I said, well, first, neuter. Second, get into a trainer. Third,
Probably first get him registered
get the
as your ESA so you
yeah.
don't have to lose the dog. Because I'm
Well,
sure
all
she's
of
on
these
a
things should
timeline.
happen concurrently.
Well,
Like,
I don't think you were working with someone here that
No.
can follow a bulleted list.
so I said, and last, and I mean very dead last, is you can fill out the surrender form on our website. But of course, this dog has to be gone by this weekend.
Jesus Christ.
Today is Monday, so we have 5 days.
I do want to see the dog, though.
Oh my God. So I said, well, I'm telling you right now, I would not hedge any bets on us being able to find placement in that timeline.
If I wasn't limited by the devil in my basement.
This is going to be a big dog.
I know it.
That was one of the
Probably
bat phones.
really cute.
The other very wild bat phone call that we got.
Oh my.
This was last Saturday. It was 3:30 in the afternoon. I'm sitting at the lake just enjoying my peace and quiet. And the bat phone calls. I'm like, okay, I could do this.
Which, by the way, if you're ever sitting at the lake and you're like, I want to be off call, you just let me know and I'll pick up the phone.
Oh, I definitely did that yesterday. I got so much sun yesterday. I'm pretty well burnt.
Oh, yeah,
really
you
good. She calls and she says, she broke her foot March 16th. So this was on last Saturday, which would have been March 26th. So 6 weeks ago, she broke her ankle. And she's doing her recovery at her sister's in Stewart, Iowa. And she lived in a trailer in Winterset. And she has these two
Dos.
Great Pyrenees Anatolian Shepherd mixed dogs.
We're talking 90-pound guardian breed dogs trapped in a trailer.
And I'm not talking a modular home, double wide, 2025 model. I'm talking single wide trailer park situation. If you're unaware, a Great Pyrenees and an Anatolian, and definitely the mix, these are guardian dogs. They have a instinct to create their own territory.
Yes.
And they will monitor that territory by going around the perimeter daily, multiple times daily. And their perimeter might be 5 miles.
Sure.
They don't go by fence lines.
In this
they don't go by
instance,
property
it was
lines.
50 feet.
Right. And so now the female is literally busting through the windows of this trailer, and the trailer
Because
park.
they've just been left
Yes.
all alone. And
the-
did she say, was anyone taking care of them?
Her daughter was stopping by twice a day to feed and water and potty them.
Oh, God.
So
That's not enough.
So twice a day
These
for
dogs.
even if she was there for half an hour, which I would put money on that she wasn't, but even if she was there for half an hour, these very large breed dogs are confined in a very small space, not being able to do what they're instinctually bred to do, and they're being left alone all day, every day, overnight, everything, getting maybe an hour of interaction with another
surprised
human
they
being.
didn't rip each other apart,
Like,
honestly.
this is insane.
Yeah.
And so I said to the woman, I said, okay, well, what's the situation? And she goes, well, I'm getting evicted and they're going to charge me with abandonment and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, like, what's your timeline here? She goes, they have to be out of there by 8 p.m. tonight.
Jesus
It's
Christ.
3:30.
And she's broken her ankle how many weeks ago?
6 weeks ago.
Good God.
I said, you've got to be kidding me. And she goes, no, I've called everybody in a 50-mile radius. I'm like, I maybe
Today.
would have
Like maybe 6 weeks ago done that.
widened that out another 200 miles and you maybe would have found somebody. I said, one of them would be a hard placement. 2, it's
Impossible.
impossible.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I said. Impossible. I sent you the recording.
Mhm.
Insane. I said, well, she's like, well, they're going to charge me with abandonment if
They should.
the ARL. Well, yes and no. They were going to. The police officer told her, and this is all coming from her, so take with it what you will. But the police officer said if she didn't find a place for it, and they had to call the ARL, and the ARL had to come pick them up, which
Sure.
that's not even their jurisdiction because that's Madison County.
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
So how is Madison County linked up with the ARL for animal control? Whatever.
I don't
That's
know.
a
'Cause
whole nother
I think it's
fucking
when
shit show story.
Well, it is true, but like I think when counties and towns do not have animal control and then they call in the ARL, then
Okay.
Yeah.
So first of all, they weren't abandoned.
right,
They are being sheltered, fed, and watered
which
per
as
the
we
Iowa
know,
law.
as we know,
Second of all, she had called the ARL and emailed the ARL requesting assistance, requesting to surrender, and the ARL told her that they didn't have any room.
right?
Understandable.
Yeah.
Totally get it. Definitely don't have room for that. But you can't turn around
And then say
and charge her with abandonment when she's asked the party that's going to charge her for help.
yeah, that's solid.
How does that work? I said, well, you have it documented, right? Like, it's not just a phone call. Like, you have it documented that you've requested help. And she said, yes. I said, okay, well, as long as it'll stand up in court, I guess. I don't know. So I told her, I said, well, send me the information. I'll put it out there if I, but
And we
I
knew very
wouldn't- I
well.
knew nobody, who's going to take that? My dad, of course, he's like, man, I really wish I had the room because that's exactly what he needs. That's like, I would have gladly given away Mercury if he would have wanted to do. So she did send us an update, unfortunately, and this is the reality. This is the reality of rescue, and this is the reality of surrendering dogs and not having your shit figured out. The dogs were surrendered to the ARL through the drop box, and one of them was euthanized the next
Immediately.
day, probably the same night.
Yeah.
So one of them was euthanized immediately, and the other one is I guess I haven't checked. Hopefully it's up for adoption. I don't know.
And hopefully they're not. And here's the thing that I found out. Well, I'm not going to go in too deep of this, but when you have places like the ARL that have so many dogs, they
Mhm.
can't be too picky about where the dogs get adopted out to, just because there's
Mhm.
so many. And I know that there's some certain policies there that I would not have put into place. That dog might get adopted out to a single wide trailer again. You know what I mean?
Well, I asked her. I straight up asked her because I mean, I know this breed. I know
Yeah.
both of these breeds. And I said, "Ma'am, no judgment, no offense, but how the hell did you end up with not one but two?"
Because were they related?
No,
Oh my God.
not one but two very large breed
Herding
guardian
dog- guardian, yeah.
territorial dogs in a single wide.
Right.
How does that work? And she goes, well, I've had the breed before, and she was such a great dog, and that's why I sought out the breed again, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you are, in the back of my mind, I'm like, you are doing these dogs such a disservice.
Right.
Like,
They need a job. They need something to do. They don't need cooped up in a tiny trailer. That's terrible.
so it's a very
Is that it?
unfortunate real situation. Which one? Yep.
Gotta be, right?
No, that doesn't.
No?
No.
Oh, that says German Shepherd. Well, it looked huge.
Anyway, those are the Bat Phone Chronicles. There's more, but I did not go through my recordings on the way here like I normally do because I was on the phone with one of them. Oh, man.
It's not that one because theirs were like not as pretty as that. That's a
No,
purebred
those are not the
Pyrenees.
color, or
Yeah.
those are not the backdrops.
Well, I hope that one that did not get euthanized is gonna find an appropriate home. That's all I hope out of that whole
Mhm.
situation. And given more time,
so
we could have helped. Why
here-
are we waiting
well-
until 8 hours before the dog is...
That was the clincher for me, and because Dad and I were talking about it that night, and he was trying to do the dad thing that he does, and I respect it, but sometimes it's really frustrating. But anyway, I said, well, if we had had more time. But she had said, I said, well, why can't the dogs come with you where you're at? She goes, well, I'm recovering at my sister's house, and she has 2 small dogs, and so they can't be here. And I said, okay, well, maybe, all right, whatever, and went on with the conversation. And then later on, like 20 minutes later, I said, okay, well, fill out the surrender form. It's going to ask you, are they good with, cats, kids, other dogs? She goes, oh, yeah, they're great with all dogs, all sizes. They've been around other kids. They've been around little dogs. They've been around big dogs. They're fine. I'm like, I listen to the recording afterward because I always get more out of the conversation. Like, I always
Yeah.
think about more things. And I'm like, okay, so why again can't the dogs come stay with you at your sister's house, even just for
Until you're recovered.
or until we can find you a solution?
Like, give us a minute.
Yeah,
We
give us
could've-
more than 3.5 hours.
We could have saved that
4.5
dog
hours.
if we had had more than 4 hours. Okay, well, not to lighten the mood at all, but I always like to follow along with different like cases throughout the country, and I had seen this one pop up in Minnesota, and it just kept kind of popping up in my world.
And do you want to update on the other one?
Oh yeah. Before we dig into this,
Right.
okay, so Holly goes today when I was bringing up this case in Minnesota that I was all up in arms
Jazzed about.
she goes, hey, have you heard anything about, which we called the Indianola dogs, but they were actually Norwalk dogs. They had lied about where they were from. And I said, oh my gosh, no, I haven't. Well, turns out the latest filing, so we are going all the way back to episode 1 of this podcast where we talk about where we got these dogs from a parking lot in Indianola, and then later it spiraled into these people getting abuse, neglect charges based on the remaining dogs that were in that home. And we knew when we took those dogs that there was more left behind, that it was going to be bad. And it was within a couple of weeks of when we took them, when the news story hit. And so we reached out to law enforcement and said, hey, there's something going down. And we believe that we have the other half of these dogs. And if you'd like to have our account of their condition and all of that, we
Right.
shared that with them. And they were very thankful for that. And I believe it was used in this case. So we looked it up. The latest filing was today.
Nice.
Which is crazy.
Love it.
However, they have already been charged. There was a voluntary guilty plea. And I'm going to read through some of this information. But I started diving through. And essentially, they were given an attorney from
Court
appointed attorney. Thank you. And but you still have to pay for that. It's not free. I mean, there's costs associated with that, especially if you're found guilty. You have to pay back your attorney costs.
Oh, through like restitution?
Yes.
Nice. Okay, I didn't know that.
So the reason for the filing today was that they owed money for their attorney and court costs, and they were back due. Right? So they had not paid them. So then we started digging, and I found on Iowa Courts Online, and you can look this up, and I'll say the name because it's all public. The owner of the dogs, which was a horde of Chihuahua terriers. In fact, one of our recent adoptions adopted one of the terriers little terriers that came out of this that was severely deformed. I can't believe they adopted her. She's so ugly.
From us or directly from the lady?
From furry friends, because
from furry friends.
when they all came out of there. Yeah. But I recognized immediately when I saw that dog.
Yep,
I was
remember
like, that
that
dog
now.
is related to ours, and that's how we all put it together.
Yep.
So she was charged, and I can go through and read the actual number of counts she was charged, but there were 30 counts of abuse. Most of them were animal neglect with serious injury or death, which is an aggravated misdemeanor in the state of Iowa. There were 30 counts. Of those,
Oh my God.
roughly half, a little less than half, actually were charged, and then the others were dismissed by the court. So maybe there wasn't enough evidence or photographs or whatever.
How?
I don't know. I don't know why, but I think it's because there was a voluntary plea. So it's a guilty negotiated voluntary plea. So they probably negotiated
yeah.
like, hey, you can plead guilty and then we'll dismiss half of these.
Why?
Who
I
cares?
mean, if you have all the proof, why would you enter a plea agreement anyway. Like,
Right.
just take them to town.
And I
Be done with
know
it.
for a fact that this woman and her husband, for that matter, which he wasn't charged with anything for whatever reason, it was all on her, which is strange because they were in it together. He was
He
there.
was definitely there.
He was bleeding from
A
Grogu.
bite.
Yeah.
And
But
his Crocs covered in shit.
shit covered Crocs.
Literally.
As Crocs should be. But I know people that years before we ever got a call asking for help from, actually, it wasn't even them, it was their daughter
Mhm.
who had reached out to us asking for help, that had adopted, or when I say adopted, purchased dogs out of a parking lot from these same people. In fact, one of those ended up being one of our later adopters and then fosters who adopted Grogu. And then we just found out later a dog that she has, she bought from these people years ago, and she felt so bad for it. She, the whole
Oh
thing.
my gosh.
So she's actually got Grogu's like half sibling or whatever.
Some sort of
sibling.
relation.
Because, yes, obviously they're all very
Inbred.
severely inbred. And so they took 30 dogs out of there. We took how many from Indianola? 11?
10.
10? Indianola 10. So they had at least 40 to 50 dogs at the time that we took the first few. So what the charges ended up being, which 2 years of prison sentence, which was suspended and turned into 2 years of probation and $855 of fines, plus the costs of court and legal fees, which altogether, if I'm reading this all correctly, around $1,000 or $1,500
Right.
total, plus 2 years of probation. And then they were, then there is a DNA requirement, which basically says they shall not own, reside, or possess or care for any animal.
Which I asked Kara when she read that, like, who's going to check up on that?
Nobody.
Yeah, because they still don't have a state inspector for our entire region, which is including Warren County. So
we've been so ready for this inspection for 4 months. 5
we're
months.
always ready for an inspection.
We are always ready.
Bring it.
We're
I'm just saying.
We're
Like,
very
who's
prepared.
following up on that?
Nobody. It's just outrageous.
Who's going to make sure that she doesn't ever get a pet again?
And
when does that end?
There were multiple deceased pets, multiple dogs with severe mange and deformities from inbreeding,
Disgusting.
starvation situations, dead carcasses like on site, like all of this. And we're talking about 2 years probation and $855.
Okay, so here's the thing. And there's multiple arguments out there. I'm not here to get into it. I'm just saying, if this were children or one singular child, she'd be rotting in prison.
Right.
I mean, they
Or
would have.
so we hope.
They would have burned her on the stake. Now,
we're talking about 50 dogs.
There is so much research between people that abuse animals and serial killers and people that physically abuse children or elders, etc., whatever. So I guess I just don't understand how those two, how
are so different in their charges.
in the charges.
Well, and the other thing is, very well, they raised children in this home.
Yeah.
And the daughter reached out to us as an adult or whatever. They were no longer living in the home, but she's the one that reached out. And after this all happened, we had a conversation with her, and she said, yeah, like they should never let my mom own animals again. It's very, very bad. So then I'm just imagining at the same time this girl growing up in quite literal shit, filth, squalor, all of the things, not having food.
And witnessing
all of this. Witnessing, like, walking into a room and, like, just seeing dead dogs laying there. Like, what?
That's going to have a long-term effect on society.
For her to reach out and just say, like, yeah, they're messed up and I need your help, like, that tells me all I need to know about what she experienced in her childhood. And for us, our dogs and kids feel equal, but maybe that not be true for you, but this happened to children who were raised in this environment alongside dogs. So I don't care what your stance is there. Like, it's the same.
So how many dogs does it take to equate to one child is what I'm trying
to get at. At least 50.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, we got 50 dogs. If it's 50 to 1.
Yeah.
There you go.
Jesus.
And it's $1,000 and 2 years of probation that nobody's going to follow up on. Get out of here.
No.
I cannot.
And that woman was
But they
sobbing.
had shelter, food, and water.
Well, kinda. Yeah, I think they were living on half poop, half people food that was just thrown on the floor for them.
Yeah.
It was not good.
Whatever.
But finally, a resolution, and funny enough, on this very day after our, whatever this is, 50 whatever
Yeah,
podcast,
a year later.
a year later, there has been a resolution and there was a charge and they had to do a negotiated plea, and that's how long it was in court. So imagine the resources that this has taken for a pretty cut and dry case.
That's what I'm saying. Why did we enter a plea agreement? Like, this is pretty straightforward.
I don't understand, like, why we couldn't get all 30 counts. That's
Yeah, I
insane.
don't-
She should be in jail or prison or whatever for 10 years for
Mhm.
30 counts of animal neglect leading to injury or death.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Serious injury or death. What? So she's working right now because I found in the notes from the other here, it says that they are going to garnish her wages to pay for the court costs and the attorney's fees. And they did the order to withdraw counsel because they were saying she no longer is allowed to have like this counsel to represent her because nothing has been paid and blah, blah,
Right,
blah, blah.
right.
So that happened today, literally today. And attorney payment plan with wage assignment. So she's literally working out there in the world and unable to pay $1,000 worth of fines and fees. And we're just fine with that. And oh, I bet if I were to put money down on the table, she's got a dog in her house. Don't you think?
I wouldn't make that bet.
Yeah, she does. And no one's checking.
No one's checking.
No one
That's
cares.
that's the clicker for me.
Mm-hmm.
You can put any sort of parameters on it that you want, but somebody's got to follow up on that. And we don't have the resources.
Well, or the authority. I mean, honestly. So, anyway, so speaking of horrible acts against animals.
Yeah, let's just completely
Like,
go off
just
the frickin' deep end. Let's
real
just send me
deep.
into an absolute spiral.
So here we think, okay, well,
I'm already on it.
that woman is horrible, and I would never treat my animals that way, and I would never put them at that sort of risk. But what happens when you go on vacation and you have to have someone care for your fur children?
Yeah, I'm very fortunate that my parents live very close by and they can watch my dogs for me. So I have never, well, I take that back. We used to board Dallas when Aaron would be deployed. It just
Yeah.
saved our marriage, frankly.
Well, if he was a younger German Shepherd, like, that's a lot. Like,
Yeah. But people that board their dogs regularly or do doggy daycare.
I mean, I've done when I had fewer dogs, and we just had 2 dogs at one point. We would do Rover, and you
Yeah.
would just go online and you find a Rover that was nearby, and then you drop them off. And I remember one time we did do a Rover, and it was in Story City because it was halfway in between Des Moines and when we were going to see his parent or Marcus's mom.
Mhm.
And so we needed somewhere for the dogs to stay for a weekend. We didn't have anywhere room to go. Did the Rover, and after we drove away, I was like hyperventilating. I'm like, I feel like we made a huge mistake. They're not going to be safe. I don't like this. I didn't like it. I didn't feel good about it. And we left and we came back and they were fine. But now, I would not have left them. I would have been like, drive me back to Des Moines.
Yeah,
I'm staying home
good.
with the dogs. Like, you're not. But, it was.
You get a little more lead in your ass the older you get. You know what I mean?
True enough, yeah. But I remember that feeling. And so this is about trusting your gut, doing your research, and
Yeah.
making sure the people that you trust with your dogs are truly trustworthy.
Yeah. Trust those instincts.
Mm-hmm.
Your gut's not going to lie to you.
No. So,
So you dug up this really fun article.
well, there's 2 versions of it, and I don't know which one's better, but
So this was just published 2 days ago.
yeah.
Animal torture charges. Minnesota woman let 9 dogs starve to death and rot in kennels. 9 dead dogs and 9 malnourished, suffering dogs were removed from her in-home business. A Mora woman who operated an in-home dog training and boarding business has been charged with 16 counts of animal torture after 9 dogs were found dead and 9 others were suffering, allegedly under her watch. The case began to unfold when veterinarians with the University of Minnesota were asked to conduct a necropsy. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Necropsy. A dog that died after allegedly being under the care of 30-year-old Mariah
Kondak.
Krondak at Done Right Dogs. Well, she
That's
got that
your
right.
first freaking note, people. If there is a grammatical problem in the name of the dog boarding facility,
Done
we
right
might want
dogs.
done right dogs. I don't think
Wow.
so.
The criminal complaint says Krondak was trusted to care for the family's 2 pit bulls while they were on vacation. One of them allegedly lost 27 pounds
Like what?
under her supervision, and the other lost 38 pounds. How is that? How long were you on vacation?
That was a good trip.
Dropping to a weight of 33 pounds with bones and ribs easily visible before dying from a likely cause of malnutrition.
Jesus Christ.
There's her lovely mugshot.
Ugh.
Unsanitary housing conditions were suspected due to a bacterial infection on one of the dog's skin.
Mm-hmm.
That same pit bull's teeth were stained, possibly from him trying to chew through the bars of a wire dog kennel, though the veterinarian who conducted the necropsy couldn't confirm or deny the cause of the stained teeth. The family dropped the dogs off on February 28th and were scheduled to pick them up on March 10th. Okay.
That is insane. How?
This math ain't mathin'.
How do you lose that much weight?
In 10 days.
She didn't let him out of the kennel ever? No food, no water, what?
10 days? That's 2.8 pounds a day. That's not possible. Anyway.
That's
well,
like insert an Ozempic joke.
That's not even that good, you know?
Upon their return from vacation, Krondak allegedly gave excuses to prevent them from getting their pets. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely
Could you
not.
imagine if you
Nope.
showed up and they were like, she was like, no, you can't pick up
No.
today? I'm like, oh no.
Not happening.
Oh no.
I will. Nope. I'm not going to say that out loud. On March 12th, the family informed Krondak that they would be coming to get the dogs, only to have Krondak call and inform them that one of them had died. The investigation began on March 13th, and on April 7th, deputies went to see Krondak's home and discovered multiple dogs in crates with dog feces in the kennels and a very strong odor of urine and dog feces inside the residences. Multiple.
More than one?
According to the charges. They also found a dog on a 3-foot leash that was tied to a sliding glass door. Oh, that's awesome. They documented that the dog did not appear able to lay down due to the length of the leash, and none of the dogs had access to food or water. Oh my god. So, well, I guess with dehydration, you could probably drop a lot of weight.
Yeah, if you weren't getting
Yeah.
food or water in that time, yeah, that's probably about right.
Deputies searched the garage, and as soon as the door was opened, they experienced a smell of a strong odor of decay, according to the complaint. The deputies shined flashlights into the darkness and noticed a severely decayed dog inside of a kennel. Oh my god. 3 more decaying dogs were found in kennels in the garage, and 5 more were found dead and decaying inside kennels in a basement bedroom.
What? It literally is a nightmare.
In total, 9 dead dogs and 9 surviving dogs were removed from the home. The 9 dogs that died were either surrendered to Krondak or brought to her by rescue organizations, the complaint says.
What?
One of the dogs found dead had a detached head.
What the fluff does that even mean? It like freaked out. Like what? She detached its head? What does that mean?
This is sick. The surviving dogs were commonly caked with urine and feces and had lost significant weight and were struggling with anemia due to starvation. One dog had broken teeth, possibly from attempting to chew its way out of a kennel.
Oh my gosh.
One of the surviving dogs was ravenously trying to drink water and was even trying to drink dirty feces and urine-ridden bath water when getting a bath. Not only does it appear that these dogs died from lack of food and or water, but they likely suffered while doing so.
Well,
no shit.
Uh-huh.
Starvation and dehydration are both incredibly painful, a veterinarian with the Animal Humane Society told authorities. Considering the body condition, these dogs likely suffered for at least weeks and likely months before dying.
Oh my goodness.
Krondak tested positive for methamphetamine.
Weird.
Wild. And refused to speak with investigators according to the charges.
So
End of article.
here,
That's sick.
it's awful and also obviously very severe and insane.
I wonder if they did drug testing on the dogs.
Do you remember Pansy Poof?
No.
Yes, Pansy, the first dog I ever got from Chris, that little one-eyed beep of a
Mhm.
Chihuahua.
Mhm.
She got taken out of a meth home, and we always joked that she didn't have any teeth, you know, because
Right.
of the meth home. But yeah, I mean, jeepers creepers. So this is obviously very, very severe, and we don't read this to like.
This is on the far, far end of the spectrum. yeah, we're not trying to
But
scare anybody from boarding
10
your
days.
dogs.
So obviously this has been going on for much longer than the 10 days before the people drop their dogs off. So my question is, did the people who dropped their 2 dogs off that triggered this whole investigation see the property?
I was gonna say,
Like, where did they drop their dogs off to?
and maybe you and I are just more like nose sensitive to this kind of shit, but I would have smelled that from a mile away.
Oh yeah.
So did they like?
You're not telling
It's
me that.
just like buying a dog.
Right.
If you're going to buy a dog, please don't do that. First of all, second of all, go see the facility. If they want to meet
We
you
need
in
a
the Walmart
tour.
parking lot,
No.
red flag.
Yes.
Okay, if you're dropping your dog off for boarding, at the local subway, no.
No. They had not. There's no way that these people who cared
No.
about their dogs enough to incite an investigation walked into this property and dropped their dogs off and were
Absolutely
okay
not.
with it. Like, so what
But
happened?
they did say residences.
So maybe there was like an intake place, and then, but
still,
also,
she doesn't
have
have the
you
mental
ever
capacity to maintain a clean facility.
have you ever met anybody that is on methamphetamine and you didn't know it? No, you
No.
haven't. You knew it.
Yeah.
So these people had. I mean, there were some flags that they ignored, and it may have been a good price for the boarding, like or
Terrible.
something. Like there's something that they ignored, and it cost one of their dogs its life, and the other dog a severe torment and neglect
Those dogs
and
are never
torture.
gonna be the same.
No.
Okay, all of that said, if you must board your dogs, first of all, I highly encourage, and the world is becoming much more dog friendly.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, I understand. Like, you can't take your dog to Thailand. I got it.
Right.
Like, there's vacations that it's just not gonna work.
Mm-hmm.
But do consider taking your dog with you. They want to experience the world with you, and
Yeah.
they're part of your crew and part of your family. They're gonna be fine.
Yes.
So don't let that scare you. First of all. Second of all, if you must board, there's a few things that you need to look out for.
Yes. Well, and as Holly mentioned, doing a walkthrough is important.
Yes.
And so when you go to a boarding facility, if they do not allow you to see where your dog is going to stay,
It's a no.
red flag. And I understand them not wanting to let every Tom, Dick, and Harry back there to take a look because they've got all of these dogs and there's disease control and all of that kind of stuff. But they should at least be able to show you where your dog is going to stay and where your dog is going to go out to go potty. And you
Right.
should be able to get to see what's going to happen. And if they will not let you do that, it's a no from me.
Yeah. At a minimum, at an absolute minimum, they should be doing FaceTime with you. I
Yeah.
mean, you can do a FaceTime
And show you,
walkthrough
yeah.
of the facility.
And there are, speaking
And
of,
you were talking about the well-being of your animal, of your
Right.
beloved pet. So don't let any sort of like, oh, I didn't want to bother them, or I didn't want to inconvenience them, or I didn't want to be weird about it. Like, no.
be
No,
weird
be
about
weird
it.
about
Be
it.
weird about it.
Be really weird about it.
Yes. And so I would like to preface all of this with saying that my daughter works in a doggy daycare and doggy boarding facility at
Mhm.
Paws and Pints. Like I hear the good, bad, the ugly of everything that comes out of there, and most of it is like not all dogs are meant to be in facilities like that. They don't all do great because they're not.
Not all dogs do great.
They get upset and all the things. But at least, know that the staff is there to take care of your dogs and that it's like at least an inspected facility. I promise this place was not
Nah,
inspected and not under the
nor
radar,
not
or like
registered
very under
at
the
all.
radar. Yeah,
No.
not registered.
Okay, so another consideration is in-home dog sitting. So
Yes,
if you
that's what we do.
have a friend, a family member, a niece, a friend of a friend, or a daughter, son of a friend, and they need a little part-time job, have them come over to your house.
And stay there.
They can stay there, or they can come over and spend the day there, whatever. And
That's my number one. Like, keep your dogs in their own home environment.
let
They're
them
going
be
to be
comfortable. Yeah.
way more comfortable.
And have the person come over so the dogs know them, and everybody meets and everything's cool, and
Yes.
show them where the food is, where the treats are, where they like to eat. Like when my dad does my dog chores, like he knows Reese eats right here on this side of the couch. Radar eats here. Sharky, you got to feed him in the bathroom. You got to shut the door so nobody steals his food because he eats slow as shit. Otter, you have to put him in his kennel.
Yeah.
Keep their routine as normal as possible because they're already going to be out of their normal with you being gone.
Yeah, mom's not there and they know.
Yeah. Other things, check online reviews. You could do background checks. Any boarding facility in the state of Iowa, at least, must be registered with the Iowa Department of Agricultural
And
Land Stewardship,
Yep.
which we refer to
IDALS.
as IDALS.
Yep.
It's a public website that you can go on. You can look up inspection reports.
You can look up complaints. That's
You
important.
can see any complaints. You can see any non-compliance or infractions.
Yep.
If they've been resolved, what they were, the notes from the inspections, when the last inspection was. All of that is public record. So make sure you're checking that they are registered and that they've been inspected and that they've passed.
Yeah.
You can do a daycare trial. So if you are, going to be gone for a week or 2 weeks, whatever it is, maybe have your dog go to their facility during the day a couple times so they kind of know where they're going to be, and you can also monitor their behavior when they come home from doggy daycare. If your dog comes home and they're like completely just stressed out and spastic, or if they're super depressed and shut down, showing any signs of distress like cowering, any, potty messes or aggressive behavior, like maybe they didn't have a great experience at that particular facility on that particular day.
Yeah, which I have had that happen back, when I had just the 2 dogs. We had another time where we were going to be out of town and I took them to a boarding facility, and I have never since that time had any of my dogs boarded. I've done day stays where they go stay for the day and they have their own little suite and whatever if we've got stuff going on or someone coming to work on the house or something like that. But I've never boarded dogs ever again. And not to say it's bad. I think there's a million amazing boarding facilities.
Yeah, we have several that we're going to
we'll talk about some good ones. But I was so young. I was like 21, 22, and I had my 2 dogs and I dropped them off. And when I picked them up, it took a week and a half for them to be normal again. Like they were so terrified and shut down, and and some of that's that they weren't used to the environment, but some of it's like I don't know what happened. Like and it could have been fine, and they were just scared, but it didn't feel right, and I didn't want to do it again, and then we never went back there.
Yeah,
Make
sure that you have pet insurance, especially in these sort of circumstances. I don't know if this is a thing. It should be if it isn't, but some sort of directives.
Yes, you have to tell them what to do if they can't get a hold of you and there's an emergency.
And also, you need to have this thought out in your head. So when you're, in the middle of the Caribbean and you get a phone call that says, "Hey, Fido's having a seizure. What do you want me to do?"
Right.
You are going to know the answer.
Right. Go.
I think all boarding facilities require you to put their vet information down so they know where they
and you have to agree to let them go to emergency vet and which one if
that
necessary.
It would be covered and all that shit.
So that's huge.
I know a lot of boarding facilities have camera access now that you can log in, and
it's so cool. Like, what
cool.
are they doing during the day? Let me check in on them. It's so fun. And then doggy daycare, you can watch what's happening in doggy daycare. It's really cute. Yeah, for sure. That's really cool. So that for me is a big green flag. If they're open enough to share that with the folks.
Yeah, they shouldn't have anything to hide.
No.
But if they don't have it, that's not a red flag. If they don't have it, I'm just saying some places do.
It's a benefit if they do. Yeah, that's nice.
Things to send with your dog when they go to boarding. Obviously, most boarding facilities, any that I've ever talked to or worked with, looked into, require you to bring portioned out food servings for them. So
actually is genius because then you know what they ate or they didn't eat.
And they're not getting overfed or underfed or, and they're getting the same thing that they always get, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Of course, if they're on any medications and explicit instructions.
Yep.
If they have any of their favorite toys, favorite blanket, just be, advised that might not come home with you.
Yeah, it may be destroyed.
It may be destroyed by, the next door neighbor.
Yep.
And some boarding facilities have, restrictions on what can be brought in because of allergens and sanitary, and, they don't want to bring in any fleas that
Right.
like dog beds or things like that, that might not be okay. So
Yeah.
and from a cleaning perspective too.
It's tougher, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I do know, I mean, it depends on what your budget is for when you're leaving, because I know, like, you go on a vacation, you're paying for airfare and hotel and all that stuff for
Yeah.
yourself, and then having to do that again for your dog, which can be as expensive
Mm-hmm.
to have your dog boarded. But if you can afford it, and what I have liked when we've done the day stays at Paws and Pints, they've got kind of like a suite. And so it's just like a little bit nicer. And some suites at some of these places have like a TV and like a
Yes.
little, you know, they've
Yep.
got all the, it's like a little
Calm
tiny,
music and
yeah, like
you
a little
know.
tiny home. Just like ask lots of questions and know your dog. Like if your dog is not used to that, like they might need something a little bit more extensive.
Mm-hmm.
And then they should offer you, you know, to let you know how many times your dog's going to get out and be walked and if it's going to have play dates during the day and all of that kind of stuff. Just like ask all the questions. Be weird. Be over the
Yeah.
top. Like
Yeah.
this is your baby. If you don't be crazy and you don't know where you're leaving your dog, like you could be coming home to this nightmare and be on the freaking news. You know what
Oof.
I mean? Like
I would die. I would die.
well, they would die if that.
And then I would. My dad's always like, "You can leave them home if you want. I'll take." I'm like, "Dad, no, they're going with me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm taking my dogs anywhere that I can because I want them with me.
Right.
But sometimes you can't."
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
We do have a few people that we either know personally or that we've worked with through the rescue. We want to give
Mhm.
another shout out to Knox and the Hound. They are a relatively new.
yes, but not new to dog care and
No,
training.
she's been in rescue for a very long time.
Yes.
And they just opened a facility in Knoxville. That's where Knox and the Hound came from.
Took me quite a while. I was like, I don't understand why they named it Knox and the Hound. That is weird. It's a weird thing. They're not even. Oh, got it.
Oh.
Yeah, Knoxville. Got it. Done.
Bark Avenue, which did they change names? They were recently purchased.
Yeah. So the new owners, we know. I can't speak for the old owners, but they were the same. There's Bark Avenue. There's Bark Avenue West. There's Ankeny Bark Avenue. But prior to this, there was other owners, and I don't know about them. But the people that own it now have done a really nice job of taking care of any dogs that we've sent their way, and they've also offered us some board and train situations that have
Yeah.
worked out quite well for
Good.
those dogs.
Good.
Yeah.
As we've mentioned multiple times, Paws and Pints does boarding
Yeah.
and doggy daycare. If you're up in Boone County area, Ledge's Dog Farm Camp, I cannot recommend them enough.
That's
They are just a mile east of the Ledge's entrance. And
They probably,
wonderful.
do you have a lot of property then? Is it like
Yeah,
a
it's on a
big-
huge acreage,
Oh, cool.
and it's like literally sending your dogs to camp. They get walked and they go on nature hikes, and it's a whole thing.
I like this.
Aaron and I actually looked at purchasing the business at one point, and that quickly
Yeah.
was a no for me. Just because it's like a 24/7, 365.
Yeah, you don't
And
get
then
a vacation.
and then I was envisioning like, what if somebody's dog dies while they're here? Like I
Yeah.
would never recover.
Oh my God, yeah.
And then also, I believe I probably should have verified this before mentioning it, but I know that Mrs. Slobberworth is up in Boone, and I believe she does daycare. So
Yes. And then we have a foster that
she
does.
might just do pet grooming. I might be wrong about that.
Well, at the very least, they
Sorry.
do training, and she could do like pop-ins.
Oh,
while you're-
dog daycare.
Oh, good.
Dog daycare center. Yeah, on her
So,
Facebook.
If
Okay,
you had
cool.
somebody to drop off to daycare
Cool,
or whatever. Yeah, there is also. It's called Brindley's Big Backyard. And
Oh yeah.
That's in Waukee,
Yep.
and that is an in-home facility. They have the hugest fenced yard I've ever seen in my life. Like it's like
Mhm.
perfectly fenced, and it's out on the outer skirts of Waukee. And then additionally to the rest of our list, Paws Inn. It's out by Adele and owned by a lady named Bobby. And this is the level of care that you're getting at this place. She's been hiring me for about 10 years to paint portraits of her favorite doggy daycare clients. So she's an incredible woman who really gets and knows dogs and does a really good job. And
Yeah.
everybody that goes there is like very loyal. So if I were closer, I would be like, everybody go. Your guys are going to go to Paws Inn. So she does a really great job as well.
Now, if you happen to be a foster for Oh My Dog and are part of the Mutt Mafia, don't ever worry about your foster dogs being watched.
Oh, good call.
We have lots of volunteers that are maybe not necessarily able to foster a dog from start to finish, but they are very able to cover like vacations. You know, if you're going to be gone for a week or over the long weekend, whatever
Yeah.
it is, we've got lots of volunteers that'll help watch your foster dog. I think there's probably even a few volunteers that would watch your personal pets too. That's up to them. You guys work that out, but don't ever let that, deter you from fostering.
Yeah, we do a really good job of covering for if you've got things like, for instance, our sweet hippo girl who, for the love of dog, why is she still with us? Because she's a horrible meet and greet, but she's a really great dog and she's really fun to have in your house.
I think she needs to go to Josh.
Oh, God, I know. But he likes to come to the park, and Hippo is not a park girl.
That's true.
However,
Maybe she
she
could become one though.
she was one at one time, and then she undog parked herself. Yeah, she doesn't like dogs.
She got banned.
She got undog parked. Yeah, she doesn't like tall kids, and she's a short kid.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Gotcha.
before we got her Hippo, she was essentially picked on by a Great Dane. And it's hilarious because if she sees a Great Dane, it's done.
Nuts.
But she could walk up to all of my pit bulls, any other dog,
No problem.
no problem, play, no big deal. A Great Dane, she's
Girl
like,
can hold a grudge.
she can hold a grudge. I don't know why I brought that up. But her foster mom, who we never anticipated would have this dog for this long, is like, hey, I'm happy to have Hippo here, and I really want to find her forever home and like see this out. However, I've got like 6 or 7 trips this summer, and I don't
Right.
know what to do, and I'm feeling really overwhelmed. And I
Yeah.
said, oh, just send me the dates. We'll
Yeah,
figure it
we'll
out.
figure it out.
So anyway,
Which
yeah.
we did.
We did.
We have. It's gonna
Yeah.
be great.
Yeah.
And honestly, it might be good for Hippo to get moved around a little bit.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? Get a
And
little
Hippo does
desensitized.
great at boarding, so she's going to go to boarding at Paws and Pints for several of those trips, and then we're going to send her to a couple of foster, we call it respite
Unless she
foster.
gets adopted, then we'll
Oh.
cancel all of those reservations.
Please. And if you'd like to donate towards Hippo's
Yes.
care while her foster mom is on well-deserved trips and time off, please go ahead. But
Yes.
anyway.
On our website, under the donate button, PayPal, Venmo, or you can send a check to
P.O. Box 33, Madrid, Iowa.
50156.
Where's that jingle when we need it? We just need her to fix the Madrid part.
Yeah, we gotta get somebody to work that in there. You can actually send anything to that address. Been a little light on the fan mail lately, although today was a wonderful surprise with the
Yeah, we got the
snuggle
the
buddies,
heart
snuggle
puppies. Yeah, snuggle puppies. That was cool. But a freaking postcard once in a while, people. Come on.
I did get a couple. One from Maui from somebody. I've been
Maui.
meaning to read it forever.
Oh my gosh, do you have it?
I think I do actually.
Oh my lord.
Let's see.
She gets to get the joy of seeing it. I just got to have the joy of her reading it to me aloud because
Look at all these postcards that I have in my bag, and
they're just she just has 47
I carry
unmarked postcards in case she
postcards
needs
with
to
me,
send some mail.
just in case I get a wild hair at my ass and want to send a postcard. Well, I maybe don't have it.
Oh my
Sorry.
dog. All right. Well,
No, wait. I got it. I got it.
She's quite literally digging through her bag right now. What do we got?
Nope, that ain't it either.
Oh, Jesus. That was from her secret admirer. They didn't even write where they were from. Lord. Okay, well,
Hilarious.
she's going to find it because I want to know who sent us a postcard from Maui.
Sorry.
Rude.
I think I file all my mail that I receive. I keep it in a
I know she's got this thing in a
shoe
Rolodex.
box, in a little
Oh.
shoe box at home. So don't ever think that your postcards go in the trash, because they don't. I keep every single one of them.
Oh, no, yeah. She's got a whole situation of postcards.
No, sorry, I don't got it.
Fine.
I wrote myself a postcard. I read this wonderful quote the other day. It said, in quotes, "So what? Two of the most powerful words in the English language. Right between them is a free and happy life."
There we go.
So what?
So what? I like it. You do what makes you happy. And also make sure that your dogs are well taken care of along the way.
Yeah.
That was a really nightmarish story, but I felt the
I am
need
gonna
to
have nightmares about that.
just
now.
awful. But I had read it several times and I was like, we have got to talk about this because I just, as a dog owner and a dog lover, I can't imagine that happening. And I want people to know that this is possible. I don't want to scare people, but I also want
anybody
you to
that
know.
runs a boarding facility is not gonna appreciate this.
But most boarding facilities are sanctioned and like,
I want to
you
know where this lady like where did she what's advertise? Like
Yeah.
how did these people find her?
people that are still going on Craigslist. That's how.
Oh God.
Yeah, that's how.
No. Oh, we didn't talk about Rover.
Oh yeah, Rover is another one.
Rover is a website.
Yeah, which they do a background check on you when you go to like sign up for Rover, so that is done. However, I do like to say that like, background check doesn't mean a lot if you didn't get caught. You know what I mean? So you got to use your gut and you got to use your resources and just.
Do they have reviews on Rover?
Yes.
Oh well, that
So
would help.
reviews are huge. So if there's 2 reviews and they're great and there's nothing else, like, I don't know, they may be new. Do we want to trust them? Is there 15 really great reviews and they seem to be repeat users and say like, I did Rover for a while at my house actually, and I have some really great reviews because one lady decided she was going to give her dogs raw like bones with the marrow in the middle the day she brought them to me, and they then decided to shit their brains out for an entire weekend while I was watching them. Yes.
Which reminds me, if your dogs come home from boarding
and they have
diarrhea,
normal.
like that's normal. That's also normal in rescue. So if you're
fostering, we had 2 this
like
week.
a diarrhea.
They're like, I'm gonna call the vet in the morning because the puppy has diarrhea, and I'm like, it's spring and the dog's eating grass and they're out in the world and the ups and downs. My dogs have all been like upset tummy this week. It's just a thing that happens. Like if it's chronic and it's getting bad and you are seeing like worsening,
like
uncontrollable, severe amounts of blood or clotting or those types of things, like sure, we'll talk about that as being like a vet visit. But like a dog having diarrhea is like not a big deal.
I mean, it's kind of like when you get on an airplane. Like when I go on vacation, like immediately everything stops. Dogs are exactly the opposite.
Yes.
Oh, speaking of that, why did the dog bring toilet paper to the party?
Because it was going to be a potty.
That's a good guess. Because he was a party pooper.
Oh. Yep.
But bump.
And actually,
who had the bad dog joke today?
She was ready, and it came out of nowhere. She just brought that out of her arsenal.
Thank you, ChatGPT.
Very nice. Oh my gosh, I haven't even tried ChatGPT when looking for my bad dog jokes.
What kind of dog loves indulging in a bath?
2 for 1.
A bath. A bath. Oh gosh.
A shampoodle.
Oh. That is so stupid.
That was a bad one.
Yeah. What does Snoop Dogg use to clean his house?
A company?
Swift? No.
Bleach.
Oh God, that was terrible.
Yeah, really bad.
Alrighty, well that's it for us.
Except for we just had one more adoption to add to our count that we won't say next week. Cyrus officially was adopted today.
Wonderful. With brand new fosters.
Yes, I've already sent notes.
Gareth and Heidi.
Yes, they've done a great job, and they're going to take on a dog that was very at risk, one of our ditch dogs from Southern Iowa. They're taking that dog on this week, and we are so thankful. So anyway, grand end to the day, an adoption of Cyrus, a little black mutt. So hurrah. Alrighty, well, pay attention to where you're sending your dogs and
get weird. Until then,
we'll figure it out.
Oh my dog.
What I mean when I see, what I see, what I feel, when I dream, when I be, I'm a freak, what up? Oh, what up? Everybody look at me when I'm free, when I feel, what I see, when I do it, I'm a freak, what up? Oh, what up? Say what we got, it's hot to spot, give up the drop, see what we got, do what, do what? We got to go, the body flow, too hot to show, the front row, we won't stop.